It began quietly, almost too quietly for an announcement of this magnitude. No alarms, no press release, no emergency briefing, just a single message from Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb, published like a final entry in the diary of someone who has seen too much. And in that short text, in that calm voice he always uses when he's about to change the conversation forever, he delivered what he called his final warning about 3I Atlas, the third interstellar object ever discovered, and perhaps the most unpredictable visitor humanity has ever tracked. For months, astronomers around the world argued, debated, dismissed, and ridiculed the anomalies surrounding this strange object, its change in color, its unexplained acceleration, its enormous jets of gas, its puzzling anticola stretching nearly 3 million kilometers, and its bizarre mass loss rate that made no sense for an object of its size. But Loeb was watching the numbers shift in ways no natural comet should behave. And now, with new calculations, updated models, and the latest images from Chinese orbiters and Earth-based telescopes, he has said what no scientist wanted to hear: that the physics doesn't add up, that the energy required is impossible for a single intact object, that the observed jets cannot be produced by the body we see, and that if 3I Atlas does not appear as a cloud of fragments on December 19, 2025, then the only remaining explanation is that we are not looking at a natural comet. This is the moment when the scientific world split into two: those who fear Loeb is right and those who fear what it would mean if he is. Tonight, we dive deep into the calculations, the controversy, the backlash, the 10 anomalies, and the final warning issued by the most outspoken astrophysicist of our time. This is the story of the object that may force humanity to confront a truth we are not ready for. From the moment it was discovered on July 1st, 3I Atlas refused to behave like the comets astronomers have spent their lives studying. It came from nowhere, arriving from interstellar space, slipping into our solar system on a path that didn't match any known gravitational lineage. At first, observers saw what they expected: a dust coma forming, jets of carbon dioxide erupting, a shape that looked relatively stable. But then came the behavior that no one could explain. As it approached the sun, instead of simply warming and shedding ice like a normal comet, its mass loss skyrocketed to levels never recorded before, producing a massive anticola stretching nearly 3 million kilometers. To put that into perspective, that's longer than the distance between Earth and the Moon. The Chinese Tianwen-1 orbiter captured images revealing enormous jets blasting from the object. But strangely, even with such violent eruptions, there was no confirmed fragmentation. The nucleus appeared intact, unbroken, whole. Meanwhile, other instruments recorded a color change, a velocity increase, and a non-gravitational acceleration. 1-3 traits that individually would already raise eyebrows. But together they formed a pattern that scientists had only ever seen in one place before: Oumuamua, the first interstellar object whose acceleration is still unexplained to this day. By late October, the scientific community was buzzing. Something was not right, something was not natural, and everyone knew it, even those too cautious to admit it. But then Loeb ran the numbers, and things went from strange to impossible. Avi is not a man who jumps to conclusions. For years, he defended the natural origin of Borisov, the second interstellar object. Él no es un sensacionalista, ni un teórico de conspiraciones, ni un científico hambriento de titulares. He is, in fact, one of the most decorated astrophysicists on Earth, a Harvard professor with more than 1,000 peer-reviewed papers, 9 books, and decades of leadership in astronomy. So, when he sat down to compute the physics of the 3I Atlas jets, he did what scientists do. He calculated the required energy, and what he found was disturbing. The jets were so powerful, so violent, so sustained that to produce them naturally, 3I Atlas would need to expose 1,600 square kilometers of surface area to the sun's heat, the equivalent of a 23-kilometer wide nucleus. But Hubble's images show the object is no more than 5.6 kilometers in diameter. That is a 16 times mismatch, a discrepancy so enormous it collapses the natural explanation. A comet cannot generate more energy than it receives from the sun. A comet cannot lose more mass than its surface allows. And a comet cannot maintain structural integrity under such violent outgassing without fragmenting into dozens of pieces, unless it already had. This is where Loeb made the shocking conclusion that would ignite the scientific world. For the numbers to make sense, 3I Atlas must have fragmented into at least 16 pieces, 16 fragmentos, 16 veces el área superficial, pérdida de masa finalmente explicada. Pero el problema era mucho peor, porque si no vemos estos fragmentos el 19 de diciembre, entonces los chorros no pueden ser naturales en absoluto. They can only be produced by something engineered. Loeb didn't bury the lead. He didn't soften the message. He didn't try to protect his reputation. Instead, he delivered a clear, unambiguous warning. If on December 19th, 2025, 3I Atlas appears intact, we must consider that it is not a natural comet, not might, not possibly, not there could be a chance, but must. Why? Because a natural body cannot violate thermodynamics. A natural body cannot break the sublimation limits by a factor of 16. A natural body cannot produce jets powerful enough to reshape a coma without showing cracks. But an engineered object, a spacecraft, a technological construct designed long before humanity existed. That is another story. Loeb explained that technological thrusters produce far higher exhaust velocities than natural outgassing, meaning they require significantly less mass loss to achieve the same effect. In other words, a machine could produce these jets without shredding itself, which brings us to the most controversial part of his warning. If 3I Atlas is still in one piece on December 19th, then the only explanation left is technology. The scientific world erupted. Loeb's statement didn't just cause disagreement, it caused open war. Within hours, leading astrophysicists fired back. Kunyang Zhang from Lowell Observatory, the comet looks normal and healthy. No sign of fragmentation. Brian Cox, University of Manchester. Let me be clear. 3I Atlas is natural, nothing unusual. David Jewett, UCLA. Loeb misinterpreta los datos. Es explicable. Chris Lintott, Oxford. Calling it artificial is an insult to planetary science. And then came the harshest criticism from JV of Penn State, accusing Loeb of misunderstanding basic planetary science and misleading the public. The attacks were relentless, reputation destroying, personal, aggressive. But Loeb did not retreat.